Welcome. My name is Clint Macro, active NRA training counselor and the founder of the Trigger Pressers Union. This is the third installment of our video series designed to maximize the NRA's Pistol Marksmanship Simulator Training Program, or the SIMCO for short. In the last episode, we covered the course goal, which is to provide the basic knowledge, skills, and attitude necessary to learn pistol marksmanship using a virtual training system, such as the CERT pistol and the LASR software. As a result of this lesson, viewers should be able to teach safe gun handling, CERT pistol knowledge, teach the fundamentals of marksmanship using a CERT pistol, and conduct a safe and effective course of fire utilizing simulated training devices. Your objectives with your students would be for them to learn safe gun handling, simulator pistol knowledge, the fundamentals of pistol marksmanship, and apply the fundamentals of pistol marksmanship using a laser shot indicated simulator pistol. NRA's 3 rules for safe gun handling. Always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. Always keep your finger off the trigger till you're ready to shoot. And always keep the gun unloaded until ready to use. Now, what do the safety rules mean in a simulated course? Well, they mean the same thing they do in any other class. We need to establish our safe direction, and we need to abide by that. We need to enforce that our students abide by that. What is a safe direction? I like to chase young people, especially around their environment. I'll say, what's a safe direction at home? And they'll say up. I'll say, what if dad's upstairs? And they'll say down. I'll say, what if mom's downstairs? And they'll say that way. Chase them all around. The key thing we want to take away from that is a safe direction could change depending on circumstance or environment. Our second rule is always keep your finger off of the trigger until ready to shoot. And there's a little drill I'm going to show you later on that will help reinforce that, but that's definitely something we need to watch, as we would in a regular firearms training course where we need to keep an eye on their trigger discipline. Now, always keep the gun unloaded till ready to use. Well, our students may not realize this, but you as instructors perhaps know this and will here in a minute. The CERT pistol, it can't be loaded. It's impossible to put ammunition into this training device. It can't go bang, it never will go bang, it's impossible. But we still need to treat it with the respect of a loaded firearm, so make sure that we reinforce that with our students. If the only thing our students walk away with is an understanding of the 3 NRA safety rules, then we've done mankind a service. The CERT pistol, shot indicating resetting trigger. That's what CERT stands for. This laser training device simulates a Glock. It's pretty Glockish, I guess if you want to use that as a word. And it has its muzzle, its trigger, its magazine release is here in the backside, just like a regular old Glock. The magazine is removable, it's weighted just to give a little more substance to the pistol. You have your rear sight, front sight, just like any other pistol. The slide does not function, however, we can certainly simulate that when we're in our training course. On top, you'll notice a toggle switch. What this toggle switch does is it activates the take-up laser. And basically what the take-up laser does is when it is on, it will show us and indicate when the trigger is prepped, meaning that the travel is taken up through the trigger and it's reached that point of break. Just like with a modern striker-fired firearm like a Glock or an M&P or an XD, when the trigger is all the way back and that last safety is ready to disengage, we meet that resistance where the trigger is prepped. And that's what this simulates. So with the prep laser on, we can now see that the trigger is prepped and we're about to break the shot. Once we break the shot, we'll see our point of impact laser. That shows us where our shot is hitting, our shot indicator. Now, the take-up laser can be used a few different ways. One, we can teach them the proper trigger cycle with a striker-fired firearm. They can certainly simulate that with this firearm. But also what it does is it affords us as instructors the ability to kind of see in their head. Many things we can diagnose, most things we can diagnose, frankly, by just watching the gun and keeping an eye on how they're interfacing with the firearm. But it's really hard to see what they're doing sight picture-wise. So something I like to do is, before I start the class, I will have an instructor come up, get perfect sight picture, and then I want them to prep the trigger and leave that trigger prepped, and then another instructor will go over with a Sharpie and just make a little dot where that take-up laser is. What this allows us to do is we can explain sight picture, sight alignment and sight picture, and then we can have our students present the firearm, get perfect sight alignment, equal height, equal light. They can prep the trigger without breaking the shot. And based upon where that trigger prep laser is in relation to the dot on the paper, we can see if they're getting good sight alignment. This is also where I get into a trigger discipline drill to have them present the firearm, prep the trigger. So their finger's on, they prep it. When they bring it back to their retention, I'm a fan of high compressed, but you could use a low ready, whatever works for you. When they come back to their retention, finger off the trigger. Finger on, finger off. Next, we conduct an eye dominance exercise, where we make the triangle and we put it over the point in the room and we bring the triangle back to our eye. Very rarely I'll find a student where they gravitate to one eye or the other, and if that's the case, what I'll do is usually have them make the triangle and put my nose into the triangle, and then I can usually tell what eye they're using, so that might be a trick you could use. Once we established eye dominance, then we should choose what hand they're going to shoot. Now, if they've never shot before and they're left eye dominant, well, let's have them shoot left-handed. The 5 fundamentals of pistol shooting: aiming, hold control, breath control, trigger control, follow through. These fundamentals should be performed with each shot. Position, of course, is the platform which all the fundamentals of shooting are performed. A position should be comfortable, should be balanced, relaxed, and properly aligned to the target, naturally aligned to the target. Natural point of aim, natural aiming area. We should be able to get into our position, close our eyes, relax, and then open our eyes, and we should be on the target. If not, we need to make adjustments so that we're naturally aligned with the target. Now, the body's an amazing thing. If we see that we're not aligned to the target, we can make adjustments, we can muscle the gun into the position. But that's not what we want to do here in this particular course. We want to try and get their positions naturally aligned without using muscle, or as little muscle as possible. Assuming the two-handed grip, here we're teaching thumbs forward grip. Good grip is very important and crucial for hold control. Now, with the simulated pistol, we can practice everything except dealing with recoil management. But getting a good grip now will help later on when they actually do send real rounds down range and they have to deal with mitigating recoil. Just like with our basic pistol course, we're going to take our strong hand, get it into the V of our hand up high on the back strap, finger off of the trigger on the side of the frame. We're going to bring our support hand in and fill in as much of this space as possible with meat from our support hand. We want to get as much tactile interface with this firearm as possible. So I bring the hand in, wrap it around, and bring the thumbs forward like so. If you notice, my trigger finger and my support thumb is just about equidistant. That's what the bird's eye view should look like. As we present in our isosceles presentation, we're going to notice that we're going to feel the grip tighten up on the firearm. This isometric tension combined with having our thumbs pointing forward is going to help us deal with recoil when it is time to send lead down range. Unlike basic pistol, we're moving straight into a two-handed standing position. That being said, if you feel the need to get someone on a bench and use a rest or a bag, that's absolutely fine. One of the beauties of the SIMCO course is we do have some latitude customizing it for our client base. But moving into the two-handed standing position, this is our typical isosceles position that we teach in basic pistol. Feet basically shoulder width apart, and we're presenting the firearm from our center of mass straight forward, creating the isosceles triangle with our arms, bringing the firearm into our line of sight. Now, it's important that in our stance we have that somewhat aggressive stance to begin with. This is going to help us in our presentation, making sure that we bring the firearm into our line of sight, not present the firearm and then duck our head. I'm sure we've all seen this happen. We want to try to avoid that. Doesn't help us. Feet shoulder width apart, weight distributed evenly on the feet, legs straight, back straight, or leaning slightly forward in that aggressive stance. Head erect, arms fully extended. This is very important. You may notice sometimes shooters, if they're right-handed, will end up pushing their groups a little to the left. And oftentimes what that is they're not coming to full extension. And by not coming to full extension and getting some flex in that support arm, they end up pushing the firearm to the left. Actually, Rob Pincus said this in a class I once took with him. You wouldn't lift weights and just bring it to here, you would have them go all the way up. And by doing that, you're getting your arms in front of your shoulders. And this is going to help with recoil management later on down the road. At this point in time, the shooter should be relaxed and comfortable. We have all the time in the world. This is not a self-defense course. Have the students present the firearm, close their eyes, do the wiggle test, however you like to do that. Open their eyes, and if they're not on target, adjust the position so that they are. You need to scooch around. Aiming is the process of achieving the proper relationship between the front sight, the rear sight, and the target. Of course, sight alignment is the relationship between the front and the rear sight. We're trying to achieve equal height, equal light. We want to superimpose that sight picture onto our target. So have them look at their target, present the firearm, and then shift their focus to the front sight, getting a nice, crisp focus on that front sight. So of course the rear sight might be a little blurry and the target might be just a little bit blurry, but we want that crisp front sight focus. Take advantage of the ability of running a complete trigger cycle with the SIRT pistol. Again, shot indicating resetting trigger. Now if we turn our trigger prep laser on, have them present the pistol, prep the trigger, break the shot, bring it back to the point of reset, maintaining that trigger prep laser, break the shot, bring it back to reset, break the shot, reset, break the shot, reset, break the shot. This really helps us work on a complete trigger cycle as opposed to just a trigger prep. One of the benefits of the SIRT pistol. As I said earlier, if all they do is walk away from your class with an understanding of the safety rules, then we've done mankind a service. But the fundamentals are really the nuts and bolts or the meat and potatoes of what this class is all about. We can do correct, slow repetitions of simulated fire. This is what actually builds the neural pathways in our brains, what used to be referred to as muscle memory. I like to run the first couple iterations of simulated fire in the simulated courses analog. Basically what that means is I just put a paper target on the wall and we use the SIRT pistol and we're able to read the shots, our shot placements. Our flash sight memory is such that we can recall where those hits are going. The laser's on long enough, we can see point of impact. We can make adjustments, we can self-correct. Once we've established groups and we're doing well with the pistol, we're getting good trigger cycle, all of our fundamentals are ringing true and our students are getting a grasp of it, then I like to move into using the LASR software. Now that we've had all that explanation and demonstration, let's put learning by doing into practice. Let's bring our shooters to the line. But before we do that, let's talk about the logistics of this. Now, we need to set up our simulated range. We touched on that a little bit last episode. We should have a firing line, a ready area, a target area, and a backstop. If at all possible, that backstop should truly be a ballistic backstop. How else are we going to stress safety unless we practice what we preach? Next, we're going to have a range safety briefing for our simulated firing line, just like we would in basic pistol course. We're going to start off by talking about the 3 rules for safe gun handling. We go over what I refer to affectionately as the other 8 rules, which are, of course, the NRA rules for using and storing a gun. In the next portion of our range safety briefing, we need to talk about general range rules. In the SIMCO course, I would recommend using a blank piece of paper or a paper plate, just like we would in basic pistol. However, I do like to add in a small circle with a Sharpie just to give them something to aim at. Some of the more advanced courses I've done, we've used FBIQ targets, but perhaps depending on your client base, it may or may not be an appropriate choice. Definitely I would recommend using a bullseye target with scoring rings later on in the course of fire when we actually start introducing the LASR software. Take advantage of this opportunity to acclimate your students to some of the basic range commands that you might use during a live fire course. Shooters, take the line. I'll have them retrieve their pistols. Sometimes, depending on their proficiency and perhaps as the course of fire progresses, I'll introduce a load and make ready command where they can pick up the SIRT pistol and I'll start with the magazine out. They can pick up the magazine, insert it, and simulate cycling the action. We'll get them in their high compressed, ready position. I'll have them present. I'll have them prep the trigger. I'll have them break the shot. Some of the iterations of fire will just have them commence fire. And then certainly when it's time to bench the certs, I'll have a ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. And make sure that they understand they need to bench the firearms at that point and step back away from the firing line. You certainly will need to customize your range commands depending on the exact course of fire that you're going to run during the class. Before you have them retrieve the cert pistol, do a demonstration. Allow them to study the position. Go over the finer points of your position, your presentation, your grip, your trigger mechanics, your follow through. Then have them work on the position. So we studied the position, we practiced the position without the firearm. Let's work on that stance. Let's work on some of the presentation of the isosceles, just using our finger guns, as I like to call them. Then once we see a measure of success, let's introduce the firearm into play, or the cert into play in this case. Let's work on grip. Let's see how they tactily interface with the firearm at this point in time. Once they have their grip down, let's get them pressing trigger. Let's see those dots, not the dashes. Let's have them dry fire. And in this case, dry fire is the big show. This is when we're actually going to see point of impact. So do everything you can to make sure you hone those fundamentals, hone that grip, hone that stance, up and to the point when they're going to press trigger. Then we can introduce them to more fun with the LASR software. The next episode, we're going to set up the LASR software in our simulated course. I'm going to show you some drills, show you how to use some of the diagnostic tools and some of the additional plugins that are available with the LASR software. We'll also get into how you can print targets and email targets for your students to take home to show their progress. My name is Clint Macro. We'll see you next time here at the Trigger Pressers Union.